All right, let's go ahead and get started. Again, thanks everybody for joining us today for our new release webinar, which we're calling WIN-911 2021 R5. Again, my name is Stephen Rivas. I'm the product manager here at WIN-911, and let's just go ahead and get started. What this release is primarily about is two new OPC modules that we've added to the product. We're calling them OPC Data Access and OPC Alarm Events. So what we're going to do today is I'll talk about the OPC Data Access module, some migration paths for the old DA module, and the new Alarm and Events module, and then something, just a quick update on some stuff with Microsoft Exchange authentication. That we're going to, if you're using Microsoft Exchange to send emails through WIN-911, then you're going to want to pay attention to that. All right, so OPC data access, I'm sure you're probably already wondering. Well, let me back up there. If we have time for a Q&A, we'll go ahead and do a Q&A, and if we don't, then I will just get back to you guys after the webinar. But during the webinar, if you have questions, there's this question section within the GoToMeeting applet. Go ahead and put your questions in there. And again, if we have time at the end, because we're going to do a demo at the end, and I think that might take up a lot of time, but if we have enough time, then we can do the Q&A. All right. All right, so OPC data access, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. And again, I'm sure you guys are like, oh, wait, I thought you already did OPC data access, and that's true. We've done OPC DA for a very long time. If you've used the OPC DA module in our existing product right now, then you're not very happy with it. We haven't been that happy with it, and performance-wise, it hasn't been too great for us. And we knew that we needed to add OPC UA support to that module, and there were a lot of things holding us back to do things that our customers, you guys, have been asking us for a long time, for namely something like mass edits and better performance. So since we were going to open the module up and add UA to it, we decided the best thing for us to do is just go ahead and overhaul it. And what this module will end up doing is replace our existing module. So the existing OPC DA module that was with 2021 is going to get replaced with this new data access module. And again, it's going to do classic, it's going to do UA. So it's going to be able to connect everything you connected to before, plus some more servers. One of the major things, one of our major goals for the overhaul was to try to simplify alarm configuration. It was a little open-ended with the existing module. It's kind of, again, that's what led to performance issues, the way it was architected, and trying to do mass edits with it was very difficult. And so we figure if we simplify everything, then we'll be able to give you guys a much better way to interface with the product. And we'll talk about that, of course, here later on. And because you guys are so familiar with version 7, and some of you guys still hadn't upgraded, we wanted to make sure that the design that we came up with, the configuration, was very similar to version 7. So it's heavily influenced by that module, and you'll see some of the configuration is I mean, it's very similar to it. So you should feel comfortable using it. So for connectivity, I mean, it's kind of think it's pretty obvious what you got to do here. When you set up a new server, you're going to be you're going to have to choose. Do you want to connect to an OPC DA server, or do you want to connect to an OPC UA server? And for those who don't know, the major difference there is the security model. So OPC DA is the OPC DA Classic servers. It's still using DCOM. And OPC UA doesn't use DCOM, but you can trade that. You trade that complexity for certificate-based authentication, which, in my opinion, I prefer. When DCOM works, it's great, but when it doesn't work, it can be a huge pain to troubleshoot. OPC UA with the certificate-based authentication, to me, has been significantly easier to use, and haven't had many problems with it. And again, I do prefer it. So it's the main thing here is that when you're defining your servers, you'll choose between whether you want to connect to a DA server or a UA server. And once you have that configured, then you just go ahead and start creating alarms. And there are several different alarm types that you can choose from. So the first being a Boolean alarm. So these are just standard state alarms that you'll be able to choose what your trigger is going to be, whether it's equal to 0, not equal to 0. There will be level alarms with pre-configured states for high, 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 low, and low, low. It's very similar to any SCADA system, HMI system that you've configured in the past. You'll also be able to import tags with no alarm on them, and these would be beneficial to you if you're using reports and you just want to put that tag in a report that you can request in real time from one of your notifiers, or you can send it out with one of your other alarms. So if an alarm gets triggered, you send a report, and that report can have several other OPC tags in it. Then there is the watchdog alarm. Watchdog alarm is nothing new. It's the same thing as it's always been. It's an alarm that will be generated when it doesn't see any value, or it doesn't see any activity on a particular tag for some specified timeout period. So that hasn't changed. The functionality there is the same. One new type of alarm that we have is a health alarm, and this is only going to be for OPC UA. Basically, it's going to be a connection alarm. So if you lose connectivity to your OPC UA server, it'll generate an alarm, and you can send that to whoever you need to send to, so you know that your server is no longer connected. So with OPC DA, some people would do that with a watchdog alarm, and you'll still need to do that because uh, uh, because there is no health alarm built in for the DA Classic stuff. It's only available for the UA. So what I want to do is just walk you through what the configuration looks like for each one of the alarms. Well, I'll show you for the Boolean and the level and the watchdog alarms. Um, then I'll go ahead and talk about some migration stuff, import stuff, and then we'll talk about the other module, the alarm and events module. So when you configure a Boolean alarm, it's going to look like this. And this is pretty common between these settings are common between all the different alarms that we configure. So first you have your item ID, or in the case of OPC UA, you would put a node ID, which it's a similar deal, but the syntax will look a little bit different. When you have an item ID, you can put in your alarm name. Sometimes people make this the same as their item ID. Sometimes it's different. But this is a friendly name for this particular alarm, user-defined name that doesn't affect connectivity to your OPC server. And let me give it 1 second here. All right. And then we've got the actual alarm type. And of course, for this one, it's Boolean. If you hit that drop down, you can choose between Boolean, level, or no alarm, and make the configuration change there. And then for the first new feature, which is not really a new feature, but it's an existing feature from version 7, you'll be able to bit pick on tags again. So we didn't have that in the existing module. Version 7 did have that, so we wanted to bring it back so anyone on version 7 and wanted to migrate that was using bit picking can go ahead and move forward with the new product. So you'll be able to choose when you enable that. There's a least significant bit and most significant bit. I think almost everybody's configured least significant bit, and then you just put in the particular bit that you want to connect to, or monitor rather. And then at the end, you've got the notification policy. When this alarm is triggered, what notification policy should it go out to? If you're not familiar with WIN-911 or 2021, a notification policy is essentially the call out list that you're going to be notifying when this alarm gets triggered. All right. And then we've got the description. The description, of course, it's obvious what a description is. It's something you can put in there to describe this particular tag. It's not something that will change when the alarm goes in and out of alarm, and I'll show you that in a second. This is just a static description that always stays whatever you type in here. Then we've got units. I know this is a Boolean alarm, and it's weird to have units on a Boolean alarm, but I'll show you why we have that here in a moment. Then you've got this new get value button, which we didn't have before. We put this in here for troubleshooting. trouble. So if you put in a tag and you're not sure if you can connect to it, you can hit this get value button. It will advise to that tag, get the value, and tell you what it is. And if you couldn't connect to it, syntax was wrong, you would know that, and then you can fix it and go on. And then there's labels. Alarm labels are these tags that you can assign to particular alarms to organize them within your WIN-911 system. Um, so if you can use these later on in your workflows, so your advanced workflows where you can say if an alarm belongs to this particular label, then go ahead and notify these people, and if it doesn't, go ahead and check for another label, and so on and so on. So if you want to learn more about how labels and escalation work, we have other webinars for that, so I'm not going to focus too much on that here. And then that's the main. This is like the main part that almost all the tags are going to have, and then you get down to the actual alarm configuration. So for a Boolean alarm, you have an alarm threshold that you're going to choose between whether it's equal to 0 or not equal to 0. So that's most Boolean alarms are configured that way. So you'll choose that option. You have your priority. A priority is 0 to 1,000. So you can choose any one of those particular numbers. So we treat 1,000 as most or as the highest priority and 0 is the lowest. Technically, you can do it any way you like, but in the workflows, that is the way we have them set up there. Then you have alarm delay. This is something that we haven't had before. So an alarm delay is essentially it's a delay for how long an alarm condition needs to be present before an alarm is actually triggered or generated. So if you have if a tag goes into an alarm state, if you had a 5-second delay, it needs to stay in alarm for 5 seconds before that alarm will get generated. And if it doesn't, then that timer would get reset and wait for the alarm state to come back, and then the timer starts again and again. And what that's great for is to, of course, to try to prevent chattering alarms. Uh, so if you, again, you have to have that alarm state there for a particular amount of time, and if it's not there, it doesn't get generated. So if you have something that's right on the edge, keeps going on, off, then you can prevent that chattering alarm by having a delay there. And then active description and inactive description. This is something we brought over from version 7. This is why I was talking about the description just a moment ago. So when the alarm is active, you can have one set of text that's going to be sent to your operator, and when it goes inactive, you can have a different set of text that's going to go out to your operator. So you can put in whatever you like in there. That is, again, this is the reason we put this in here is one, it's much easier to use, and you can have that dynamic text that's in there for your operators to know what the current state of the alarm is very easily. But it's also something from version 7, and we wanted to make migration from version 7 as easy as possible. So we stuck both the active and inactive description into the new module. And so now we've got the two new features it's going to make our new OPC data source more like a direct connect. So the first one is called value substitution. So a lot of times our customers configure their level alarms as Boolean alarms in their PLC or their SCADA system. And if you trigger one of those alarms, let's say it's a tank level, and you want to actually tell the operator what the value of that tank level is, you couldn't do that before. It would just say the alarm is true or false. With this particular feature, if you want to, you can turn it on and then put an OPC tag that represents the current value or the process value of a particular asset, like a tank level. So when this alarm gets generated, rather than just saying true or false, which you'll know it's true or false because the alarm's getting triggered and you'll know the state of the alarm, you will be able to see the value of some other tag that you put into that field. So you can put, I mean, obviously you can put any tag in there that you like, but if you want to put in the process value of a particular asset, then you can, and it should be helpful. So that is optional. You can turn that on, turn that off as needed. The other one is for an acknowledgement sync. So we wanted to be able to sync acknowledgements with OPC back to a SCADA system, which we haven't done in the past, and we wanted to make sure that you can do that now. So the way this works is you've got two particular fields. The first field, the top field, I know you can't see that because the watermark has been overwritten. That's the value that we're going to read the acknowledgement from, and the bottom one is the value that we're going to write an acknowledgement to. In this particular case of this example I put, they're going to be the same tag, and I think a lot of SCADA systems it'll be the same tag. But if it happened to, you have to be able to write to a different tag to acknowledge something, we wanted to make sure you could do that. So the way this is going to work is that when an alarm gets generated, it's going to see what the acknowledgement state is on that particular tag. And you tell WIN-911 what the ACT value is. You can see there's a 1 all the way on the right. And so what that's telling WIN-911 is when this alarm gets triggered and this ACT tag is set to a 1, that means it's ACT. If it's set to anything else, it means it's not ACT. And then the bottom one is what you're going to write and what it means, what an ACT value. If you want to write an acknowledgement to a particular tag, what do you need to write to it? Now you can put integers in there, you can put text in there, it doesn't matter. It's whatever will work for your particular SCADA. So example of where they would be different, if you use system platform and you didn't want to use the direct connect and you wanted to use OPC, then that tag at the top would be, I think it is just a .act attribute field, and on the bottom you would write to a field called .act message, and you can write anything you want to that particular field. So with this you'll be able to sync your acknowledgement. So if you ACK your alarm in SCADA, in the SCADA system, it's going to ACK in WIN-911, and if you ACK it in WIN-911, it can ACK back into your SCADA system. So this is available for both DA Classic and the DA UA stuff. So you'll be able to do it in either one. Let's see. Just make sure there's no problems with the audio because my headset died just a moment ago. I think we're still good. Okay, so that's Boolean alarms. So now we've got level alarms. Level alarm configuration, pretty similar to anything you've likely seen before. You've got a deadband. So a deadband is, you can set it up as a percentage or a value, a deadband. And essentially what a deadband means is the process value has to go below or above the particular set limit that you've set by what you set. So if my high level is 90, then before that alarm's going to clear, it needs to go down to 84 to exceed the 5 deadband, and then that alarm would get reset. In addition to that, we also have the alarm delay, which is also in the Boolean alarms. So both of those together can really help to eliminate chattering alarms. So that's a new feature from the old module that we didn't have before, and we did have it in version 7. So that's something else that will easily migrate over. Then, of course, you've got all your different levels that you can enable. And each one of these, when you enable them, is going to be treated like a separate alarm. So it's not one, so you don't create one alarm that can be in several different states. But you're going to have, if you would have actually 4 different alarms could be triggered here, and they would all be in different active, inactive states. And they all have their own ACT value. So if you ACT the high, it's not going to ACT the high alarm, and so on. So they're all treated as independent alarms that are here. And of course, you've got the active description and the inactive description. That acknowledgement sync feature is not available for level alarms. We only made it available for Boolean alarms. We think that's where it'll be most useful. If that's not the case, and once this gets out there and you guys really want to see an acknowledgement sync for this, for level alarms, then we can add that in, but I don't. But I guess we'll just see what you guys need. So that's it for the level alarms. The next is going to be watchdog alarms. Again, this isn't really changed too much. You've got the alarm name, you've got a tag that you're going to be pointing to, and then you have a timeout period. And so all this is really doing is it's going to advise to this tag if it doesn't see an update within that timeout period, then an alarm is generated. when another alarm update is seen, then it will go ahead and set the alarm to inactive and show that the alarm is cleared. So that watchdog alarm is the same as it's always been. Don't spend too much time on that since it's pretty much, again, exactly the way it's always been. All right, so let's talk about the different import options that we have. So there's several different ones. There's the existing import option that we've always had, which is the browsing the server for tags. There's a new import option that you can import from a CSV file. There's also this new Excel import where you can do your mass edits in Excel and then import them back into WIN-911. There's the SQL legacy WIN-911 SQL database import. So what this is, well, I'll talk about that more in just a moment. And then we've got the version 7 import utility. So talk about each one of these. So the browse server for items is, again, this is a similar wizard we've always had before. You put in your OPC server, you browse it, you select the tags that you want, and then you create alarms on them. So you'll be able to go through that wizard. And I'll show you a demo of that in a little bit. You'll be able to select your tags, choose what alarms you want to create, and import them, and bring them over that way. Now, if you can't browse your OPC server, this is a new feature that we added. Then you can use a CSV file to put in your item names into WIN-911. So a prime example of this for Delta V, our customers that use Delta V can't import from that. When you try to browse from that, or maybe ClearSCADA, it's got a ton of different tags, and maybe that import will take a really long time to load all the tags. You can just put your item ID, your items into a CSV file, and then point WIN-911 to that CSV file. It'll see the tags, and then you use that wizard that I was just talking about to create the alarms in WIN-911. So you can either do the online import or use the CSV option. It's up to you, whichever one you'd like to use. And then, of course, we got the new OPC export. I know that it's weird to call it import option and export, but once you have your tags in WIN-911, you'll be able to export that configuration out to an Excel file. You can open that file in Excel and then make all the changes you need there, and then just re-import it back into WIN-911. Now, when you import these files, it will overwrite all your other tags, so it doesn't do a merge. So you got to make sure whenever you're doing an import, it contains all the tags that you want to have in your WIN-911 system. And I'll show you guys an example of this as well. All the different alarm properties are available for edit in this Excel file. So if you import a bunch of tags and then you want to copy your descriptions from other spreadsheets and paste them into our spreadsheet, you can do that and then just import that. You don't have to go through our UI to make your alarms. You can just easily do it through the spreadsheet. So that is new to this version as well. Then we've got the legacy WIN-911 SQL database. This is for our existing OPC DA module. When you upgrade to R5 from one of the older WIN-911 releases, then your configuration doesn't automatically get converted. If you want to keep that configuration, then you can use this import option to connect to that existing database, because that database, we're not going to do anything with it because we're putting in a new database for the new module. You can connect to it and then bring over your tags from there. But because of the way those alarms are configured, it's hard to map those into the new level alarms. And that's just because you could have had as many alarms as you want on a particular tag, and it's hard to know where those particular alarms should have gone. So we're only going to migrate the Boolean alarms over, and the level alarm type, the level type alarms that you had previously configured can be imported as just data tags, and then you can go re-enable the level alarms on those, which I know is going to be a hassle, but you can use the export feature to speed those things along again, so you don't have to go through the UI. And one of the downsides to this is one of the functions we're using in SQL to make this possible is not supported in SQL Server 2014, as we found out kind of toward the end here. But what that means is if you have WIN-911 with databases in SQL Server 2014, it's not going to work. You can either take that database and move it to a newer SQL Server, or just update that SQL Server, which is easily done through the Microsoft SQL Server install. You just run it, click update, and point it to that instance, and then that installer will update it for you. And then the last option is the version 7 import utility. So this is a utility that exists where if you're using version 7, you can put in your MDB file and your INI file, and then it will convert over to the new OPC module. Because the new module aligns so well with the existing version 7 stuff, a majority of almost all of your configuration is going to come over for OPC into the new module. So that's where we got the bit picking, we've got the 2 different descriptions, deadband. So you shouldn't lose any of those type of items when you're importing from using the import utility. So that's always been there. It's just been updated for this new module. All right. So for migration paths, it's a pretty simple. If you're on version 7, then you can use that version 7 import utility. If you're using version 3 or version 4, I guess I should have put it on there, 2021 R1 through R4, those existing 2021 modules, then you can use that legacy SQL DB import. Again, it's not compatible with SQL 2014. So you will need to upgrade those in order to get that to work. Now, if you want to upgrade to this new WIN-911 system update, then if you're in support, then you can just download it and install it. If you're out of support, you'll need to contact the sales team and they can get you back into support, and then you'll be able to upgrade to the version at that point. So that's it for OPC data access. What I think I'll do is I'm just going to go into the next module. I'll go through everything and then we'll do the demos. And I'll try to hurry it up because I want to show you some of the demos, because see, I'm already halfway through my time here. So the next module is the OPC Alarm Events module. What this is, it's a new module that will allow you to connect to OPC A&E Classic servers and OPC UA Alarm and Condition servers. So this is a totally new module that didn't exist before. It doesn't work by importing tags. Rather, you subscribe to a server and you use these. We call these filters subscriptions within WIN-911. So you set up a particular filter onto the server and to determine which alarms you want to be able to connect to. And of course, because you're not importing, that means you can dynamically receive new alarms from your SCADA system. So if you add a new alarm to your SCADA system and it matches your filters that you already set up, they're just going to come into WIN-911 automatically. You don't have to, again, import anything. It will just work. And it also works with acknowledgement. So if you acknowledge in WIN-911, it will acknowledge back to your SCADA system and vice versa. So that is nice. It's very similar to our Factory Talk module that we've had in the past, that we've already have. So if you've used Factory Talk Alarm and Events, it's essentially that. But you'll be able to connect to all the different OPC servers that are out there. So same thing I said about the DA modules. OPC A&E is classic based, so it's DCOM, and the UA and ANC is a certificate-based authentication. So that's pretty much the same thing as I was saying before. Just wanted to reiterate that. When you're working on subscriptions for OPC A&E, so the classic, you can filter on 3 different things. So the qualified source name, which is the alarm name, a category, which is how some servers, categorize alarms. So a category is going to be different. Sorry, my headset keeps dying. I don't know why it keeps turning off. I don't know why it keeps doing that. But a category can be different on different servers. So some categories could be like, a category could be level alarms, or it could be Boolean alarms, or it could be operational alarms. It's however the vendor of that server has implemented categories. And then there's severity, which is usually at 0 to 1,000. Okay, I just wanted to double check my audio is still working there. Okay, and then for alarming conditions, it's pretty much the same, but a little bit different. There's node ID, which is a long syntax name of a particular item or tag. There's node name and message, which is a description, and severity. So those are the things that you can filter on when you're connecting to an an A and C server. So there's not a whole lot to say about these servers because they're so simple to configure. You just connect to it, set up a subscription, and then point that subscription to your notification policy, and you're getting alarms. And that's all you have to do. I mean, you're going to get the descriptions that are coming out of the servers, and you don't have to manage any of that in WIN-911. It's just automatically coming from those servers. So it's a much easier to set up. And I will try to show you guys that demo here in a moment. So the last thing before the demo is the Exchange OAuth thing. If you didn't know, Microsoft is going to disable or really discontinue, so you won't be able to turn it back on. Basic authentication for SMTP, IMAP, and POP servers. There's other servers that are disabling it for Exchange Online as well. This is just relevant to the Exchange Online guys that are sending mail from Win911 through an Exchange account. Because they're disabling this, it's Win911, the older versions of Win911 will stop working. So we've added in support for OAuth into R5. So if you want to keep using that Exchange account, then you'll need to upgrade. And if you don't want to upgrade, then you'll have to find another account to use because there is no workaround as far as I know. If you're using Gmail, I probably should have put something here about Gmail. Google did something similar a few months, I think it was in June, where they discontinued what they call less secure apps, which are apps that connect with the username and password. And for Gmail, if you want to use Gmail, you have to create something called an app password, which we have a knowledge base about. But so if you didn't want to use your Exchange account anymore because you didn't upgrade, then you can go use a Gmail account and set up an app password or use some other email provider. But for Exchange, we are implementing the OAuth support for in R5, so you'll be able to keep using Exchange if you upgrade. Okay, so let's do a demo. We'll try to demo a few things here. Minimize this. Okay, you should be able to see my VM now. Let's go full screen on it. Nope. Okay, so this is the workspace for Win911, and what we'll do first is we'll just go through some OPC DA stuff. So we've got the new data access module. I don't have anything configured right now. I'll go ahead and add a new server. So I'll do OPC DA Classic. First, I'll just connect to KEP server. And what I've got here is my two buttons that I have to choose from. Is it OPC DA or UADA? If it's UADA, I've got all these other options that I need to select. If it's just DA, then it's the normal browse for a server. So I'll browse for a server here. Find the server I want to connect to. Say OK. And this box here, I didn't talk about this, is the only good quality box. So what that means is if you check it, you're only going to process updates on tags that have a good quality. Some people or some servers, you need to uncheck or leave this box unchecked because updates come through and they're bad quality, and for some of our customers just want to process those. So that's why this is an option here. You can again choose to enable it or disable it. We have a heartbeat feature that I didn't really talk about. This has always been here. It didn't go anywhere. A heartbeat just lets you put in a tag and it's going to write a value 1 through 9 every 60 seconds or whatever interval you set. That way you know when that one is connected to your server and you can monitor that from your SCADA side. And then there's watchdogs here, which Not going to play with right now. So we got this new tab over here for items and alarms. We used to have it down here, which was hard to view. So we switch it to this new tab view, and this is what it looks like. So there are no alarms here, obviously. So what I want to do is, oh, I got to turn this back off because I can't do anything else. Is come over here and I can add items one by one if I wanted to. So here's my item ID, item name. I can choose what type of alarm it's going to be, and then I can configure it here. So you can do that one by one if you wanted to. I don't want to do that. So I wanted to show you the import option. So if I go to import, I can go to browse server for items, click next, and then it's going to go interrogate the server, get all the items on it, and then put it in a list, and then I can import them. So I think there's, yeah, a few tags here. So I'll choose 10 tags, select what I want to alarm on, so not equal to 0. Then I need to choose my notification policy. So notification policies, again, are essentially a call out list. So I can choose notify all contacts, which would notify everybody in the system. That's a built-in one. If I wanted to use labels, I can attach a label to it and then move it over to the right, click import, bring those tags in. They'll fill out here, and I can save those changes. And now I'm connected to those tags, and they're set up as Boolean alarms. They will be triggered when that value is equal to anything but 0. And then I can come in and fill in all these details if I'd like. If I don't want to use the UI to do that, then I can export it out to an Excel file. Put 1 on there. So that will generate that file. I don't have Excel on here, but I will put it over here on my desktop and open it for you. Let's do, let me rename it again here. I already had a file called that, and I didn't want to overwrite it. All right, so open that up in Excel. I'll drag it over so you can see what it looks like. So you've got all the different fields that you can edit all the way down. And then you've got different tabs for the different levels. So all the Boolean alarms are here. All the level alarms would be here. If you just had them in and you don't have an alarm, then you would use that here. And then you can put watchdogs as well. So let's say I wanted to change the names of them. You can see they're not in order. So I can just do a sort on them real quick because it's not a table. So that should just go to A through Z. So if I just don't like that name, and let's say I just want to call them Boolean 001, and do that, and then that'll be my new name. If I wanted to do something similar, like put put whatever description in here I wanted to, I can do that. And then I would just hit save. Come back over here. Place the one I put there. Come back into here. Import. Go to my export, import there. Browse for the file. It's this one. Open it. Say next. Now it's going to overwrite everything that's already in there. So it's just a dialog telling you want to do that. You say yes. Here are all the tags. You can see it's got the new names, and you can click import. And now those tag names are there. So that is how you can do that export feature. And then you have to click save. So if you didn't have, let's say you couldn't browse for your tags and you wanted to bring them in that way before you put them out in an export or something, then what you could do is come over to import, choose item list CSV. So this is where you'll browse to a CSV file. Let me show you what that just looks like. It's fairly simple. It's just a CSV file, friendly name, item, ID name, and it's just tags and a list. So this is just taking the place of the browse function. So again, if you can't connect to if the server you're connecting to doesn't support the browse interface on an OPC server, then you can use a CSV file to input them into a 911, put it in, move them over, import, and then close it. And then you've got all those imported as well. So those are those two options. Showed you how to modify it. Let me show you an example of the acknowledgement sync stuff. So let's cancel the changes. I'm going to set up a different connection to InTouch for this example. Just delete this source, add a new one. Go to InTouch. How much time do I have left? I have 18 minutes. Go to my InTouch server and then save it. I've actually got that configured already in an Excel file. So I'll bring those over, import. All right, so what I'm going to show you here. So there's a few examples. So I've got this tank level tag that's set up as a high alarm, and what I'm doing is when it's set up as a Boolean alarm. So InTouch will tell me when this alarm is active, so it'll be a 1 or a 0. So I know that. I've got a description in there, and I've got my value substitution. So if this gets triggered, normally it would just show me true or false. If I want to see the tank level value, then I can use this value substitution, and this is linked to the actual value of that particular tag. And then I've got my acknowledgement sync turned on to these dot fields from InTouch, which will tell me when alarm is acknowledged, and it will tell me, and then I can write to that same dot field to acknowledge an alarm. So let me make sure, yeah, InTouch is running. Click save. So I'll connect to that server. I'll come over to my log. Well, let's go to InTouch. So this is just got a tag over here, and then I've got the log viewer. So I'll just turn alarm on. That alarm should pop up into WIN-911. You can see it's there. I can select it from WIN-911, and you'll see it change color over here when I acknowledge it. It changes to the acknowledgement state. If I go down, I'll trigger this high alarm. I went the wrong order there. Anyway, but I've got the high alarm and high alarm. So if I acknowledge it from here, if I acknowledge this high alarm, because they're linked to the same acknowledgement tag, because that's the way InTouch works, they'll both get acknowledged. So one will disappear and the other one will get acknowledged. And you can see that got acknowledged through the source. So that's how the acknowledgement sync can work. So this is just an example through InTouch. You could do it with a bunch of different data sources out there. I was just wanted to show you a quick, easy way you can do it. And I'm just using one tag for that. So that's for the DA stuff. Let's jump over to some alarm and event stuff. I think first I'll show you alarming conditions. So I'll do that with iFix. If you wanted to connect to iFix through their A and C server, I'll show you how to do that. Let's close this out and show you how it works with the certificates. So we'll wait for that to load. So with the UA stuff, we can't browse for the particular endpoints. I think in the future we'll put in some discovery features, but right now we don't have that built in. So if you want to connect to a UA server, you have to get that particular endpoint to be able to connect to it. So if you haven't ever configured that with InTouch or with iFix, it's pretty easy. You go to their UA configuration, you got to turn it on, and it will show you the endpoint here. That's this guy right here. If you want to do alarms, you got to make sure those are enabled. You can see their mapping of severity there. So if you come in here, we need to paste that. And then different servers are going to implement UA a little bit different. You can see what their security settings are set to. So they're going to allow connections through sign and encrypt, sign only, and these are the policies they're supporting. So over in WIN-911, I want to select the same thing they're using, which is sign and encrypt. And if I click, and I have security turned off in iFix. If I had security turned on, I would need to put in the username and password in this particular field to get it to connect. But because it's turned off, I can leave it on anonymous. So if I hit test connection right now, it's going to fail because you have to set up trust between the two servers with certificates. So I need to first in Win911, I click the show certificate buttons. I can see here's the iFix certificate. I need to trust it. Did I select it? Trust it. Uh-oh. Oh, is that the, let me make sure. Oh, I think I might have messed something up here. Now I gotta have to restart it. Of course, when I demo something, it goes wrong. Start it back. Okay, so let's try it again. Did I get my, okay, that's right. So we have it set to the wrong thing there. We'll try it again. Okay, it did trust it. So now I've got this other one here. So, okay, so now what I gotta do is, if it worked correctly, trust the certificate over here, which it looks like, oop, looks like I'm a little bit confused on what certificates I got generated here. This is the one that was just generated. Okay, close. Test connection is still gonna fail. Then come back over to the iFix server, and I can see that I tried to connect with the client certificate. So now I have to trust the client certificate on the iFix side. And now when I test, it should connect because now both certificates are trusted on both sides. And I can go to add subscription and put in something like all alarms. I'm just going to filter on everything. So you've got these options here to what you want to filter on. So each one of these subscriptions is tied to a particular notification policy. So if you had your alarm split up or organized in any way that you could use one of these fields like severity, then you can do that. Leave it on Node ID, click save. I think there are some alarms in here. If they're not, there we go. So here they just come in from the iFix server. I didn't have to import them. And I can see them in Win911. I don't, let's go to this. Oh, I gotta go back to runtime mode. I can see the alarms in here. Go back to my deal. Let's see. There's so many tags in here. We'll see if we can see which ones we acknowledge. I don't know which one I chose, or is it? It's I think it was for the other. It was for the other demo. So I'm gonna do syrup. So syrup should disappear. There you can see the check mark went there. Let's try to find one that's in alarm. What? I mean, you see what I'm trying to show you there. I mean, you acknowledge the alarms in WIN-911, they're going to get acknowledged here. And if we acknowledge these alarms, then they will get acknowledged over in WIN-911 through the A&E server. So you can see I just acknowledged those. That one is the one that got acknowledged through the log viewer. So okay, so that's how the A and C stuff in UA works. Now I did the DA UA server will work the same way with the certificates. So I'll show you one last one for the alarm and events. So for alarm and events, I've got iconics on here. Let's close. I don't have a lot of RAM on this machine, so I got to be shutting things down. That's why I'm shutting them down. Go over to iconics demo. Start that guy. So this is Genesis 64. Go back to WIN-911. So I want to connect to an A&E server. This is using DCOM. So I browse for my server. So I can just say, oh, that's the wrong server. Alarm server here. So I'm connected to the Iconics alarm server. And I mean, should be able to test that connection. Well, let's see if it actually works here. Maybe that test isn't working. We got all alarms. We've got the 3 different things we can filter on. I'll go to category. Oh, well, it looks like this particular demo is not going to work. So what happened here is with category, that's where you can see how the different tags are sorted, organized within the server. So you can say, I want to set up a subscription that only gives me level alarms or Boolean alarms and so on. I'm not sure why this particular demo is not working when I was just doing it just a moment ago, right before our presentation here. Maybe I need to, probably still not going to go. But yeah, that's unfortunate. But it would show you that, and then you can set up your filters. And I don't want to mess around with the DCOM stuff right now to get it to go. But that is how you would configure that, and it works the same way as alarm condition stuff. And the last thing, let's see, I'll show you the exchange thing real quick. For email, when you come to set up your email server, it's going to look a little different than it did before. You can choose between Office 365 and other. This is the way you've done it in the past. If you set it to Office 365, you click this sign in button. It's going to prompt you a sign in window, and you will need to, this is the account that I wanted to use. So if I put that in there, if I select that, it's going to ask me for my password. And then if this was your company, you'd have your own company logo there, not the WIN-911 logo. You'd sign in. This is going to make me look at 2-factor stuff, which I can just say no to here. And then I'm signed into that account, and I can start sending mail through that account. And you didn't have to put in any server settings because they're all known server settings with Office 365 accounts. So you just sign in, and it should go, and it will stay logged in. It will keep renewing tokens. So yeah, that's all you have to do. All right, so that's it for the demo. The last few things to tell you, if you want to download it, it's available on the website right now. You can go to win911.com and go to the download section and download this version, and you can upgrade existing versions. If you have feature requests or feedback that you'd like to give us, we have a feature request board up on our website, so you can get to it directly by going to features.win911.com. And that's it. So let's see, we've got 4 minutes left. Let's see what questions we can answer, and then that'll be that. Looks like we've just got a few. So David says, so we can use an edited Excel file that was exported from Win-911 and then import it into another copy of the software as well. Yes, you can. So you could export it and then just import it into another system. There's nothing unique in that Excel file that means it can only be imported back into that system. So you can import it into both. In fact, you don't even, so the way I may have made it sound like you can only import tags that you exported previously, but I mean, sure I showed you that wasn't the case there. But like, if you go over to, I've got another file with just a bunch of other tags in it. So if I go to that, import, you can see I've got all these other tags. You can import them and they just come right in. So you don't have to have the tags in here and then export them to edit them. You can actually just make all the tags in the Excel file from the start if you are comfortable doing that, because there are all these fields that you have to fill in, and you have to make sure that they are filled in correctly. Of course, if you start with the export, you're at least starting from a working point, and then you can modify it that way. But if I wanted to add another tag, like if I did something like that, I can start adding in tags that way. Now I would generate those tags in the next import. Okay, thanks for the version 7 import option. I didn't have a demo for that. Basically, the way that works, if you are curious about the import utility, is it gets installed with Win-911. You just go to the version 7 importer. You browse for, it's just telling you need these files. You browse for your MDB file and your INI file from version 7, and then it will import your stuff over. When might we be able to replay the mail interfaces with RESTful interface? We don't have any plans right now to do much with the email module. So I don't know if we're going to, if you're asking if we can interface with other uh, APIs or something to send mail, that's not currently on our roadmap. Next, please, my release version is 4.20.5. Can you tell me if my version is 7 or what is it? Yeah, I understand the confusion there. That's one of the reasons we changed the naming of Win-911 to Win-911 2021, which is technically behind the scenes version 5. And if you'd been with Win-911 for a long time, you know, who had version 7 or Win-911 version 7 Pro, Basic, and Lite. So you have version 4. You'll be using that SQL option to do an import, which I don't have that demo here, but you'd choose this legacy option. You'd select your database, which I don't have the database there to select from, and then you'd import from that file. But you can upgrade from there. And will there be a recording of the webinar? Yep. And yeah, so just with with my release version of 4.25, can I migrate easily? You can upgrade everything. It's going to put the new module on, and then you have to choose this option to convert your old configuration to the new module. And it will bring over the Boolean alarms as they're configured, and the level alarms that you have configured. Those are alarms where you have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than, equal to operators. Those just get brought in as no alarm tags, which a no alarm tag looks like this. It's just the tag and item name. And then you'd have to come over here and set it to level and configure it that way. But you could do it in the export too, to try to make it work well. Question if it works with Ignition. I haven't personally tested it. There's no reason that it wouldn't work with Ignition. I don't believe Ignition has an alarm and event or a alarm and condition server, so you'd have to be doing it through the DA connection, which they do have DA servers. So I haven't tested the acknowledgement sync. The acknowledgement sync stuff, I haven't tested with that. But one of the things that we'll make available soon are setup guides for different SCADA systems, whether it's with the alarm and event module or the data access module. So I know that some of our customers don't like our InTouch Direct Connect because the toolkit that is available through Aviva is sometimes not reliable. It's hard to set up remote connections, especially if you have a terminal services environment. Well, you could connect through OPC DA instead using the acknowledgement sync option, and you can just paste in all your descriptions and everything with that Excel import instead of doing it the other way. So, and I have 2021 R4. Will I have to upgrade? Yeah, you'll have to upgrade to R5 to get all this to get all these new features. It was released on Monday, so you can upgrade today if you wanted to. Are these new features available? Uh, yeah, are these new features available with 2021 R5? Yeah, everything I'm showing you is with the R5, and it was released on Monday, so you can go grab it today if you like. You can download a demo version if you want to set it up on a separate server and not upgrade and just play with it. It comes with a 30-day demo, and you're more than welcome to play with it there. All right. It looks like that's the last question. So if you have any more, please reach out to our sales team, and we'll be able to get answers over to you. I appreciate your time joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.